It's being 6:31. I'd like to call this Thursday, March 12th, 2026 meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Today we'll be following the published and posted agenda. Will be broadcast live through Chelmsford.
Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Is that Denise?
I forget her name.
Did she hit her head?
She hit her head on
I
the
think so.
edge of
Side.
the, on the edge of the, she tripped over the, yeah, she's,
Kira, can we pause broadcast, please?
Yep.
All right, it being 6:35, it's a call this Thursday, March 12th, 2026 meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Tonight we'll be following the published and posted agenda. Will be live broadcast via Chelmsford Telemedia and recorded for future viewing. We're also available through Zoom, although we ask people if they are going to be speaking, if they would, unless they're going to be speaking, not to join the Zoom chat. First item on our agenda this evening is approval of minutes from March 5th, 2026. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them?
yes.
All right, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Chelmsford Finance Committee meeting minutes of March 5th, 2026.
Second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Moving along, we have review the fiscal '27 budget for the library. And with us this evening, we have Leslie Kimball, our director. We also have trustees of the library in the audience as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy almost FY '27, everybody. It's crazy to be thinking that far in the future. But I'm glad to be here tonight to tell you a little bit about what's happening at the library and what we're looking forward to in the new fiscal year. So our budget, it's 1.5% of the town budget. And for FY27, we're looking at a 5% increase. The drivers, which I don't think will be of any surprise, are costs for utilities, technology, general inflation, and then state aid eligibility. So state aid is really important to libraries and certainly to our library. We, in our last disbursement of state aid, we're getting just about $100,000. So it really does make a difference, and that eligibility is essential to us being able to maintain some things above and beyond the town appropriation. So we do need to meet three things in order to be eligible. The first is that our municipal appropriation needs to increase by 2.5% over the average of the past 3 years of appropriations. The second is that we have to spend 13% of our appropriation on things that people borrow, whether those are physical books or online resources, so things that are of direct service to the public. And then we need to be open a standard number of hours a week for the size of our town. For us, that's 59 hours a week. Under normal schedule, we do meet that very adequately. When we do not have the Sunday hours, if we were not able to be open on Sundays, we still make it. We're just really, really close. So state aid, as I said, is just more important than ever now when times are pretty lean. So one of the budget impacts, oh, sorry, that's the Sunday hours. I'm in a different order. I think I moved something around on myself. So the Sundays, really just, it's the second year that they're not in the appropriation for obvious reasons. Times are really, really tough. Just as a note that they do remain really important and valued by the community. In FY26, the Board of Library Trustees was able to use state aid funds that we had to keep us open on these Sundays through the winter. So state aid is incredibly important to us. And certainly we can see as we're reviewing things that, you know, when we do reach a point when it's possible to restore the funding for those hours, it's just incredibly important to the community. So a budget driver, as I said, general inflation. Our buildings are the new library is 26 years old this year, and McKay, of course, is even older than that. We see 179,000 visits in a year, and you know that takes its toll on buildings. So we've been really glad to have been able to take care of some big projects and projects that we have underway with capital funding, but certainly the day-to-day maintenance, supplies, repairs, definitely impacts our budget and is something that we just have to keep up with. Our buildings are warming and cooling centers during emergencies, as well as being open more hours a week than any other town public buildings. So another impact on our budget, one of the big ones this year, is technology. We're up against a couple of things, one of which is that the consortium, which has always provided our licenses for Microsoft Office 365, is no longer going to be able to do that. So we will be taking on the cost for those licenses. Fortunately, we have Town IT doing a great job helping us do what's going to be a very big migration. So we appreciate that. And then there have been some cuts to state online resources that folks in town really rely on. So we'll be taking on some of those costs, and then just general increase for those electronic subscriptions and licenses. We take very seriously the need for digital access and equity here in Chelmsford and in the region. We have been able to get a couple grants in this past year that come to $50,000 together. And one of the big parts of that project is setting up technology centers at 5 of the housing authority sites with them. And that's just a place where folks need more access to technology, and this is going to allow them to have that right where they live. It's going to support, the housing authority is launching a new portal that residents are going to have to use, so it allows them to access that portal and also get the support that they need in order to use that effectively. And then we're also, with that grant money, going to be able to purchase some Chromebooks and hotspots that will be used for longer-term education, and then also for long-term loans for folks who really need something a little longer because they don't have that technology in their house. So they might be able to if they're working on a semester of school and they don't have good access to technology, they'd be able to borrow something for that whole semester. So we're really excited about those grant projects, and they make a really big impact in addition to all the other access to technology and education that we're doing in the library. And here's our gem of a success story, McKay, which it just gets better and better every year. You know, it reopened in 2023 after quite a large ventilation project that the town did and some other significant improvements. We're looking forward to, should the capital plan pass at town meeting, we'll be able to do those essential accessibility projects that need to get done over there to really make the building completely up to code for accessibility. We're excited internally, even though, you know, budgets are tight. We've been able to figure out how to open McKay for 5 more hours each week, and that's made a big difference already. We're seeing a 19% increase of use over at the McKay branch. And something that's coming up, we've been, you know, really getting involved with the Vinyl Square Strategic Action Committee and working on planning a spring festival at McKay this year on May 16th, which is the same day that the clock tower reveal is happening in the square. So we're just really excited. We're hearing great things from folks in the neighborhood. It is a building that's older, and it costs us to keep it up and maintained, but we're really seeing people respond to the programs that we're able to offer there. You know how popular the summer concerts are. That's my favorite thing, McKay. I say that every year. And then, you know, the library really does a lot for $1. The value that people get, libraries work on a cost-sharing model, really. The library buys something, and everybody in town gets to use it instead of every single person purchasing that same thing. So the money that goes into the library, people in town get a lot more than that one tax dollar that they're spending. Now, in addition to that, we're really fortunate that we can add even more value because of the support we get beyond our appropriation. So we have many generous people in town who make gifts to the library or include us in their estate. Grants, as I mentioned, not only that digital equity grant, we got a wonderful grant from the Cultural Council to support the summer concerts at McKay. And our friends of the library, I really can't say enough about them. They bought the 24/7 pickup lockers, which was a huge investment. And we're hearing from people who really struggle because they have a long commute or because they're juggling a lot of family and work commitments, that they maybe just find it hard to get into the building during our open hours. And this gives them access to materials they otherwise wouldn't have. And then our friends of the library pay for about 75% of the programming that the library does. So our municipal appropriation has $12,000 for programming in it, and in FY26, the Friends are giving us $38,000 for programming. So, you know, we often say to people, if you take a look at that super busy library events calendar, and now, you know, imagine that 75% of that was not on that page. And that's what our programming would look like. So, you know, the things that the Chelmsford Public Library are able to offer to the people of Chelmsford are significant, and the people of Chelmsford make it possible for us to do everything that we do. We're very, very grateful. So in FY26, we launched our updated strategic plan, just like the town did their strategic plan. And for us, it's really, really focusing on connection this stretch of 5 years. We want to build on the connections that exist, and we want to forge new connections with people and organizations and parts of the town that we haven't been introduced to yet. So we were making great great progress on our FY26 goals, some of which are to expand our communication in languages other than English. We've purchased some Pocket Talk devices, which are the ones the ELL program at the school uses. They're wonderful translation, two-way translation devices that not only allow you in the moment very good translation, it also will scan documents and translate them and also give you text. So if you're having a translation and you also have maybe some hearing impairment, you're still maintaining really good communication. So we're also bringing that over to signs and information that we're putting out. So those are ways that we feel like we can connect more effectively with more people in our community. One of the goals for FY26 was to host a community gathering at McKay. As I said, we've got this great on May 16th coming up, a really family-oriented event outside, some great lawn games, and just ways for people to get together and celebrate. We're really excited about that. And then, really looking at in FY26, increasing our availability as much as we can. So making sure that we are, if we can, getting a few more open hours onto the books, giving people that access to materials outside of our regular hours. And just, using our pop-up library and getting out to new stops, reaching new people with that, introducing ourselves to new people in the community. And then looking to FY27, which is where this budget comes in, again, just really expanding that push out into the community, meeting new groups, meeting new people, connecting folks in town with more volunteer opportunities. We know that that's a real interest of folks in our community. We heard that from the applicants to the Civics Academy, that people really wanted to know about how can I give back, how can I contribute. And we are a perfect organization to help people make those connections. We're piloting some new services and programs at McKay and really building that relationship with the Vinyl Square Committee to make sure that we are a great, involved, active partner in North Chelmsford. And then we're looking to host some community conversations about topics that are relevant to Chelmsford today and that people want to discuss together. And you are all invited to join us in everything that we have to offer, all the things that I've talked about. And then the two special events coming up. We have the Volunteer Fair on Saturday the 28th, which is if you've never been, it's really loud, but it's awesome. Tons of organizations, community organizations who really need people's time and talents to help them achieve their goals, and people from the community who are coming because they really do want to give back. They want to make that connection. They want to find a way to help a cause that they believe in. So would love to see you there. And then One Book Chelmsford is in its 19th year, which is just a wonderful experience to be having. So for anybody who doesn't know, One Book Chelmsford, our friends of the library purchased 500 physical copies of the book to be distributed free to members of the community. And you will all get one of those tonight. And they also purchase digital copies. So for people who prefer to listen to a digital audiobook or read an ebook, people have open access to that as well. And then we all come together when the author comes to visit, which this year is on April 16th at 6 o'clock. The book this year is it's set in New England. This is a Massachusetts author, Ben Shattuck, who's extremely well regarded. The book is beautiful. It truly is. It's written. Somebody that I was talking to said they opened it up and they felt like they just slid right in. It was like they were coming home into this these intertwined stories. As I said, it takes place in New England. It's almost like the places in New England, the Cape, other spots in Massachusetts, New Hampshire. It's almost like that's a character, like the place. I definitely felt at home I've lived in England my whole life, and I felt very much at home in this book. So I think it's going to be great to hear the author talking about that. The very beginning of this book was turned into a movie that came out in 2025. And it's incredible that his writing is so robust that they could make a movie out of just one piece of this book. So I definitely would love to see you at One Book on the 16th of April to listen to the author. And I would be very happy to answer any questions anybody has about the library or about the budget request.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions?
No, no questions.
Already have one at home.
David Braslaw, library trustee,
Thank you, David.
our capital finance liaison.
Thank you, sir.
He
It's
gets
a-
the
the only
glamorous
question-
jobs.
The only question I have is just around how you consider allocating, resources, right? So as you consider different programs and funding, I think you do a phenomenal job of serving every pocket of the community. But I'm just curious how you think about that. For example, what is the trade-off that you make between more open hours on Sunday versus anything else that you're choosing to allocate money to?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is weighing a lot of factors, as you all do here. So we're looking at, what's the success been of that sort of thing in the past? How many people are we reaching? And not just what that number is. It's not just about having 100 people come to a program. It's about, what was the experience of those folks who came to the program? Was it, some people who've never come to the library before or who don't have a strong connection to other places in town, and this is there? So we're trying to get that feedback from people. We're looking at past success and numbers. And then we look at things like that map of entry so that we can say, we can see that a lot of people are coming to the library at this time. So let's make sure that we're offering a lot then. But also, maybe we need to offer a little bit more at this other time so that people who could come then would have it. And then there's the cost benefit piece of, as we're spending dollars to achieve this, which thing is going to achieve the most benefit for the most different people in the community.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Next on our agenda this evening, we have a review of the fiscal year 27 budget for the Board of Health. And with us this evening is our Public Health Director, Donna Greenwood.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. I just kind of want to go through a few of the things that we do in the health department, and then we'll go to the budget, which is not a lot of changes. It's a very quick budget to go through. So our mission is simple but vital: to provide the highest level of wellness to our Chelmsford residents and our employees. I am proud to lead this department and honored to work alongside an exceptional, small but mighty team. Together, we continue to serve as a model of excellence in public across Massachusetts. Our leadership, innovation, and strong service delivery were recognized when we were awarded the first ever Local Public Health Department of the Year in Massachusetts by the Massachusetts Health Officers Association. So we're very proud of that. Our public health initiatives and community programs address a wide range of critical topics. And in those topics and programs that we have, we do also have the pocket talks that do all the different languages. So if we need to translate or they need to read through what we're saying, they have that available to them too. So I'd like to highlight a few of the things that we do at the health department. Inspectional services. We provide essential public health protection through inspections of all regulated facilities, including now 221 restaurant and food establishments. Each of those by the state have to be inspected twice every year. And if there's any follow-up inspections, we do re-inspections of those restaurants to ensure that they stay in compliance. And also we do seasonal camps, we do pools, we do tanning, body art facilities, hotels, housing units, any environmental concerns, and any complaints that we get in that are either nuisance or environmental that we follow up on. Our health inspectors also review all new and renovated restaurants' plans to ensure they're meeting compliance with all state regulations. We do lake water testing. We monitor frozen desserts at the Ice cream stands, anybody that does the shakes, they monthly have to send those reports in. And if they're too high, the inspectors need to go out and shut them down, get them cleaned, and get them up and running again. We process every permit through the inspectors. The permit fees collected in FY '25 was $93,109, and we're on target to do about the same this year. The health inspectors' work ensures safety, prevents illness, and supports businesses in meeting all required standards. In short, our inspection program is a core public health service that safeguards residents and maintains the health and safety of our community every day. So some of our public health initiatives. We continue to implement and strengthen a wide range of public health initiatives and community programs that support the physical, mental, and social well-being of our residents and community. These programs are built for long-term sustainability to address both current and emerging health needs. Looking ahead, we continue developing new initiatives in critical areas such as mental health, substance use, nursing services, and essential support programs. Our goal is to ensure residents have consistent access to the resources and care they need to live safely and healthily and stable lives. Many of the programs that we do run, we do apply for grants that we are up against many other communities or health initiatives to achieve those. And I'm glad to say that we do obtain a lot of those grants so that we can run the programs that we do. Under mental health initiatives, we continue to prioritize mental health through a range of community programs focused on engagement, education, and prevention. Under community engagement, as you know, we have our fall festival that we've been doing annually. It's September 26th this year. And on those, everything is designed. We first started it after COVID, as I think I've mentioned in the past, to get the community back out and about into the environment and out and about and enjoying life again. And what we do is we make sure that anybody can attend these and enjoy them. So we get donations from businesses and other facilities so that we can have free activities for all residents that attend. The only cost to anybody would be if they want something from the food trucks. Literally, we're so high with having over 3,000 people attend. We have 2 face painters that come, all free. We have balloon twisters. We have the horse-drawn wagon that's free, bouncy houses. We just go on and keep adding things. We have the princess show and all the other things, which, again, that's all through the great donations of some people in our community. We attend health fairs. We have a parent cafe. We do the walking group. We participate in the CPAL event every year. We do youth meditation, buried in treasures, and support groups for that, veterans breakfast, and we do a plant positivity, which is between the youth and the seniors. Under mental health, we have education. We do youth mental health first aid, healthy relationship workshops, STDs in older adults, hoarding 101, buried and treasured workshops, cognitive behavioral therapy for hoarding disorders. My team also just recently created a suicide prevention coalition. Our first awareness program was a softball game against the fire and the police department. I will tell you that the fire department did win over the police department. I won't tell you the score, but it was really a lot of fun. We had a lot of participation. We support Pride Month, participate in statewide behavioral health awareness campaigns, and distribution of local provider resources. We started maternal mental health recently. This is a new program that we are initiating with our first community baby shower in May. We have donation boxes that are set up here in the town hall and also at the senior center. All of these initiatives strengthen community resilience, increase access to support, and help address growing mental health needs across all age groups. Our substance use initiatives. We continue to address substance use through essential education and prevention. Our community programs have been Escape the Vape Symposium, held at the high school, Hidden in Plain Sight exhibits, which is where parents can go and they see where they can find substance use in their children's rooms. Sober Truth presentations, sober karaoke is done every month. Meditation programs for individuals in recovery and their families. Narcan trainings, community naloxone boxes are free for Narcan. We do the annual candlelight vigil and ongoing education and partnership with the Chelmsford Public Schools and in the community health fairs. The opioid abatement funds that we have obtained, we have an assessment going on at this point. We're currently working with a consulting firm to conduct a comprehensive community needs assessment to guide the allocation of the opioid abatement funds. This assessment will identify local gaps and priorities ensuring that funds are directed to the most effective services in individuals in substance use disorder and their families. The results will support the development of targeted programs, expanded services, and resources that directly address Chelmsford's highest priority needs. That will be out in the next month and a half, that assessment. We also have resident support services. To ensure residents can access critical resources, that we provide a wide range of support services, including housing assistance, SNAP application and benefit support, fuel assistant resources, emergency preparedness education, and we just started our monthly drop-in hours. It's going to be the last Thursday of every month, and that first one that we had, it's amazing how many people don't know what services that we do offer. We actually had some people that came in that had no idea that it existed for them, and we were able to, one of the particular ones that came in, we were able to get them into VinFin immediately that day. So it's really important to get the word out of what we're able to do. And then our nursing services. Our nurse provides essential clinical and educational services to support community health, including the flu vaccines. We do the community ones. We do the school-based ones, which we just picked back up this year. She also does in-home visits for people that can't leave their home. And then we do the ones right at the senior housing. For certifications and screenings, she offers CPR and first aid training, including youth training that we have started this year, and that one fills up really fast, and they do get certified. Blood pressure checks, cholesterol screenings, and A1C screenings. We do the medical waste disposal, which is the shops drop-offs, which we've been doing many years, which it was today. Student training, she hosts Middlesex Community College students. Once a month, there's a new student that comes through. They have to do 5 rotations that they pick through the Middlesex Community College, which it requires, and public health is one of those. And every month, we do get one that spends time with us. So internships and practicum programs, that's new that we had just started. We actively support workforce development by hosting interns from high schools, colleges, and universities, providing hands-on experience and helping build the future of the public health workforce. We partner with UMass Lowell established internship programs, and we are one of the top ones on their list. We host undergraduate students completing their capstone projects, host graduate students that are completing their practicum placements. We offer internship opportunities for the Chelmsford Public High School, which we will have our first one this spring. We also participate in the Massachusetts Health Office Association's internship program. These partnerships strengthen both our department and the pipeline for well-trained public health professionals for our future. So we're going to go over the salary sheet that's going to cover. Basically, on our salary sheet, you'll see that we just have the basic town salary increases for everybody. There is just one change for the community wellness and inspectional specialist. There's a slight one-step increase once she obtains her registered sanitarian certificate, which is very difficult to get. There is a bottom portion on the sheet that I had turned in that I'll discuss. That's a 3-year history that I'll discuss at the end of my summary of the budget. Any questions on the budget as proposed? No. Okay. Very good. Now I'll go to the expense sheet. And there's really no change in the total for there. It stays the same in total. But I did need to change a couple of the accounts around a little bit because of increases in costs. So account 54520, mosquito control expense, I needed to increase that up by $1,300 because we want to be able to continue to do the entire town on the mosquito control. And that's Central Mass Mosquito that does it through the helicopter. And then any swimming pools that are abandoned, we just send those into, and they'll also cover those. Account 53410, telephone expenses. We used to have one of the telephones covered by a NEPA coalition group, which was funded by the state, and that no longer will be covered, so we had to increase that by $300 to cover that phone. And then to offset those expenses, in 52490, vehicle maintenance, I was able to reduce that by $1,000. We do have a new electric car, so the expenses right there will, eventually that'll end up going up a few years down the road, but right now I could use that money in the mosquito account. Account 54860, which is the newspaper advertisement, I reduced that by $400. We only use that right now if we're having a specific regulatory hearing that requires that, and not all of our regulations require that, so I was able to reduce that. And then under dues and subscriptions, we no longer have 2 nurses since Sue had retired. So I was able to reduce that by $200, which was the nurse's license. Any questions on my basic expenses? Okay. My budget summary. Our health department continues to provide high-quality services even while operating with reduced staffing. These reductions created short-term savings of $239,705 across FY '25 and FY '26. But they have also placed significant strain on the department at a time when the public health demands continue to rise. In FY '25, the assistant health director position was not backfilled when I was promoted into the health director role, consolidating essential leadership responsibilities into one role. In FY '26, we lost a health inspector through town budget cuts, although NEPA, which is a 4-town state-funded coalition, temporarily helped fill an inspectional role, so we didn't have any gaps. Their funding remains uncertain. When our social worker left for a clinical position, I made the difficult decision not to refill that role, despite its importance, so that we could restore the health inspector position and maintain regulatory compliance. The social worker position remains unfunded, even though it provides critical support to residents. Our FY '27 salary budget reflects these structural reductions, even as responsibilities grow. To maintain strong, reliable public health services, it will be essential in the future to please adjust the budgets to restore both of these positions. And my number one top position that I would want to restore would be the social worker position. These roles are key to leadership capacity, regulatory oversight, and supporting our most vulnerable residents. I thank you for continued support of the Chelmsford Public Health Mission. Any questions?
Any questions?
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the social worker, do you have any money in your budget for to outsource any of the needs?
I do not. I do not. Right now, myself and my community health and wellness person have been taking on when somebody comes in and has the needs. We're not social workers, but we, in between certain things, that we stop what we're doing to help those residents or employees and try to get them the resources that they need on the spot. But we don't have the social worker that is there to do those things.
But you do have a referral.
We do a referral program, which is the support services that we do. It's tough to get somebody right into mental health therapy immediately. As you know, there's a long waiting list for those things that are out there. One of the things that we're not able to do any longer is support groups. That was really one of the biggest intentions of the social worker. We can do peer support groups, which is what we're going to try to do this year, but we can't do the actual ones that need the licensed social worker.
Do you have any opportunities to go for grants?
Not for the particular positions. Where the grant funding is able to just, at this point, be for specific programs that we want to run on a certain mental health or substance use program. Like Emerson Hospital, we'll get grants from them, Greater Little Health Alliance, we apply for grants for them, but that's on programming, it's not on staffing.
So you couldn't say, I need a social worker to run all these programs?
We have not found a grant out there, and we have tried that would actually cover staffing for a municipality, and we have not found one at this point. What's that?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda this evening, we have a review of the fiscal year '27 budget for the Community Preservation Fund, and also a review of Article 24 for the transfer cemetery restoration funding, and Article 25, Varney Playground accessible playground equipment. With us this evening, we actually have Darlene Lucier, our town accountant, and as Judy Carvin indicated to me, she's not available this evening.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
But she is the current chair of the Community Preservation Committee.
That's correct.
Good evening. I'm going to speak on, I think the first article is the cemetery for the $8,000, is that, do you want me to do the budget first? and then
Budget
we-
budget first, then we'll go
The
into the
budget first.
articles, Darlene.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, so the budget that I had sent you, these are through December, so they're really not, but they're pretty much, we do this I kind of do it in 3 stages. So the first the first part of this budget is actually current projects that are on the books that have been approved through town meeting. The first column is the balances that are brought forward from the prior year, and then the second column is the articles that have been approved at town meeting. And then the third column is any bond proceeds that we borrow for, and then the total budget. And then we have the expenditures through, and I apologize, I think that might say June 30th, but that shouldn't be expenditures, that should be, say, December 31st. And then any debt payments. So I split out the expenditures and the debt just to show you what we were spending on debt for these particular projects, and then the available balance. So if you look at 1 Smith Street, we had a borrowing of 2.6. We then spent that 2.6. David needed that. That money came in the door and right out the door. But we actually had, we do have a first interest payment on there, which was the $49,000 that we paid for that. So just to give you a little example of what, if you go down, you'll see the debt payments that we make. And we
I'm
always
sorry to
make.
interrupt, but I don't have any of these things. Did you send them out? And I
I'll
didn't
be happy to send them out
Yeah,
if you don't have them, Elaine.
I apologize. I
No,
thought
no,
maybe
'cause
Cindy did.
I know these things
sorry.
are all
That's
tiny.
okay. They were forwarded, Jim, I forwarded them to you. I assumed that you would attach them. That's
That's fine.
my fault.
Yeah, no, because it just, I can't see, and if I go like this,
I apologize. I'm
no,
sorry.
because it's all important stuff, and I just really want to understand it.
Yeah. So like I said, these are the projects that are already been approved through town meeting, just a kind of expenditures that we're charging to the projects. If you do go down, if you want to go down to where we talk about the historical, where it talks about the headstones, forefathers one, on the projects, you'll see that there's a balance there. And we're going to be talking about, that's one of the other articles that they want to use. They're going to be reappropriating the $8,000 back in fiscal 25. We had an appropriation of $8,000. We're just going to be, it was only appropriated for forefathers. I think that David wants to be able to use that money for the other cemeteries. So we're going to be reappropriating that because we haven't used any of that money that was appropriated in 25. So you can just kind of see how that, these are just the current projects that are already on the books. If the middle section is, I said we always do it in 3 sections, is the money that we've actually collected through the tax base. So we have a commitment of $1.6 million is committed through the tax base. We've collected, through the December, we've collected $775,000, leaving us of like a $800,000. When we collect this, we collect almost all of it by the end of the year of the collections. There's a small amount that will go to the tax collection at the end, but we collect most of this money. And then what I do is that's for fiscal 26, and then you'll see, and this is what I'm saying, these small amounts that aren't collected from the prior years. And we do break these out into fiscal years, fiscal 25, 24, and 23. You'll see the money that we have collected. We've collected everything for 2023. You'll see for 24, I have a small balance, elect to collect of $215,000. And those are leaned to the taxpayer, so you'll see that those actually get leaned. And then 25, we have $4,100 left to collect on that. So, like I said, we do end up, the collections that are not collected end up getting leaned to the taxpayer, so they are collected later within the fiscal years. Interest income, that's the income that we get on it, and then we have our state match of $257,959. We're seeing the match decline a little bit, just because we've had more communities are joining CPC, so and that's just causing that number to go down. But this year I think I'm thinking about $250,000 we should be for our revenue for 27. So that's just kind of our collection rate that we do that I do in this the second section. The third section is really where you want to kind of look at, and these are what your fund balances are. The 3 on the top have to do with the current projects that are on the books. So those are those fund balances that are in those 3 buckets. And so those are the fund balances for open space, historical, and housing authority. So if you take those numbers, you can kind of go back to the top sheet, and you'll be able to find, if you add up those three buckets, you'll be able to come to those numbers. So those are the open projects, and I kind of do a total that will say active projects on the books are $2.2 million, almost $2.3 million. The reserve for expenditure, after all of the town meeting articles and money that we take out of that account, we started the fiscal year with 1.6. We took some money out of the reserve account, so our current fund balance there is 1.154. So we've got a little over $1 million in your reserve. Your undesignated fund balance, which is kind of like, because this fund sits alone, it's very similar to like what your free cash balance is with the general fund. This is the amount that when we go to borrow, the bond rating companies, they look at this. When we're gonna borrow something very large out of CPC, they wanna know what is your undesignated fund balance or your free cash, what do you have available? You gotta remember that if this fund goes away, we are not collecting any money through our tax base, we're still on the hook for all the debt. So we want to make sure that we have money in our undesignated fund balance that's going to cover the debt that we've already incurred on these projects.
The debt outstanding.
That's outstanding,
Standing.
correct. So in the undesignated fund balance right now, we started with 3.4. When we add, and how that is because if you look at our revenue versus our expenditures, we have a surplus there. And what the auditors want me to do is we put that it goes automatically to your undesignated because we haven't designated any excess revenue at this point. So I put that number over to the undesignated fund balance. So as of December 31st, we had a $4 million undesignated fund balance. That number is going to fluctuate during the course of the fiscal year because we're going to be expending some of those projects up top. So that's kind of that's a moving target. But we've been the last few years we've been staying within that $3.5 million within our undesignated fund balance. The last three categories are the 10% that we have on the town meeting warrant, and the articles, and you'll see we put the 10% in those buckets. What policy's been with CPC is we put the 10% in, but then we take the 10% or we take those amounts out to cover the debt for those particular projects under those categories. So, for instance, for open space, we put $150,000 in. At town meeting said, okay, we have open space projects for $150,000 for debt and additional. So we'll take it right out of that bucket first, and then we'll go to your undesignated fund balance and pull that to pay the debt for the projects that are in those buckets. So those are the balances in those 10% buckets. So at this point right now, as of December, we had $3.6 million of revenue that came in. We spent 2.7, so we kind of had a surplus of $800,000. Again, there's going to be the larger projects. We haven't started yet with the center square. We've just got a consultant coming on now. We're starting to pay those bills. We appropriated $1 million. We're going to be borrowing another $1 million. So you're going to probably, when that project ramps up, you're going to be seeing a lot of expenses coming in. So it could be in some months that when I run these reports, your expenses actually exceed the revenues coming in. So it's kind of it just runs differently every month. And the last sheet I want to just talk about is just to show everybody what our debt balances are and what our projections are for debt. Again, like I said, we want to make sure that we always carry enough in our undesignated fund balance to pay off any outstanding debt that we have. For 27, we only have a projection right now for the utilities, Central Square one, but we're looking at about almost $1.2 million of debt for 27. But as you can see with this debt projection, it decreases very quickly a year, you know. If we're not taking on any more large projects, you can see how the debt definitely declines for CPC. So we would, at some point, we would be able to take on, another large project. If a land purchase or something came in, we would be able to handle it within that budget to do that if something came up. One of the things we don't want to do, and we did probably maybe 8 years ago, we paid cash for a land purchase, and that kind of really hurt CPC. We always want to go ahead and borrow. And it's, I hate to say that about that, but it's, even though we have the cash sitting there, we're better off to go ahead and borrow and pay it off in the long run, because we're getting such good interest rates for borrowing. It would be silly not to borrow for our project. Any questions? That's kind of CPC in a nutshell. The account it's in very good, I feel it's good, it's, financially, it's in a good standing, probably in one of the best standings it's been in a while, so I
Okay.
feel very comfortable with this account at this point.
So do we anticipate in fiscal year '29 we'll have athletic field borrowing happening?
We could, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, not the turf surface.
But it's
cannot
only,
use
it
that
only
turf
can be
surface.
used for the, yes.
No, it will not be,
Yeah.
Jay is, we're out evaluating the condition of those, the one at the.
It can't be used for the
McCarthy
turf.
has to be done first, because it's used more than the high school.
Yep.
But no, it cannot be used for the synthetic turf.
It can't be used for the turf, it's the preparation only.
Mhm.
There's one thing about CPC, it's very specific about what you can use the money for. And when we did the high school one, the turf, even though we had turf fields under here, that was not for the turf itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions? All right, and we'll go right along to the two warrant articles.
So this is what if you want, yes, this is 25? Do you want to do this one? Yep. This is the financial article that we're going to be, for the and I think it's actually going to be Article 23. I think I might have, when I did this,
It's 23, right?
it's 23. So Article 20, the articles for town meeting, for this one, for financials, is going to be 23.
Yep.
Again, we talked about, we put in the first thing we do is this one is talking about the debt, and how much we do. So like I was saying, we put in the 10% into the buckets, and that's one of the slides. But for the debt payment, we're going to be pulling $150,000. We're going to be putting $150,000 in open space, but then we're going to be pulling $150,000 out of open space for the debt payment. Same thing with community housing. And then, I'm sorry, the open space and then community housing. And then 131.5 for community preservation historical, because that is what the debt payments are. We do exactly how much we have to pay for each individual bucket for the debt. And then we're gonna be pulling the $736,757 from the reserve to pay the total debt service for 27.
So hold on a second.
So this next, the next article is, we always put in, if you wanna just scroll up to the next slide. We always put in $50,000 in administration fee. That's just that's a standing, administration it's the small little things that come in for CPC. We pay the membership. CPC charges us a membership to be part of them. It's all the little small stuff that comes out of there. It's all administration fees come out of that account, but we do appropriate $50,000 from there. The three buckets, we put in $150,000 each, and then we put $250,000 into the budget reserve. So that's just, and it's supposed to be about 10% of the budget, of your total budget, goes into those. So again, we put those monies in, and then we kind of pull them out when we need them for debt. What we're projecting for the fiscal year reserves, we're going to be looking at about 1.67 is going to be the surcharge or on the tax base. estimating about 255. Like I said, it was 257 this year, so we're estimating we'll probably get about 255. It has been just declining for the course of the years, of $1.9 million in total revenues that should be collected for fiscal '27. And again, this is just a little, with the reserves that we need for the 10% allocations, we put in the 150 for each of the buckets and then 250 into the reserve. The last piece, these are the actual debt payments that you'll see coming for '27. And I also put the year that they will be expiring. So you'll see what I did was what we are actually bonded for and what our payments are. And that's debt and interest in those amounts. So we have 1.168, which is going to be paid out for debt for fiscal '27 for those particular projects. The Smith Street and the Underground, those are projected. We haven't yet gone and borrowed for those, so we haven't met with our bond counsel yet on those to get what the actual rates are gonna be, but those are just kind of an estimate. And that's gonna be the budget for fiscal '27. Any questions?
Any questions? Darlene, can you speak to the other two articles on the?
So I just don't know,
I can pu-
I'm not, so the only thing about the playground, I don't have the amount. Do you wanna talk on the playground? Oh, yeah, I mean, I know the one on the cemetery. I can speak to the cemetery one.
Yeah, let me just pull up the warrant presentation that Paul sent initially.
Yep.
And it has the actual warrant information and articles
Okay.
there.
It was 74,000? Okay. I knew it was more, it had to be more than what we could. And I just don't have a lot of detail on the,
Sure.
on what they're buying and all that, but
I'm gonna pull up the slide, yeah.
sure.
Hopefully I can get to it before, nope, I didn't. There we go.
Perfect. So this was, this is, yes, I can speak on this one. So back in, so back in fiscal of '23, we allocated $8,000 to do the headstones at the Forefathers Cemetery. That was in fiscal '23. We spent $7,437.50 in fiscal '24 of that $8,000. So we have we had like a little balance left over of $562. I let that roll over. I didn't recoup it. I said to David, if he really needed to do like one more stone or something over there, please use that money. He hadn't. He then came back in fiscal '25 and needed another $8,000. They've been doing multiples. They've been trying to do the stones over there when they come up. I mean, they're just so fragile. So the $8,000 that was appropriated at the fiscal '25 town meeting has not been touched. He hasn't spent any of that money. So the balance in the Forefathers Historical CPC fund is the $8,562 that we have left over from his appropriation from '23. He's asking for the $8,000 to actually be used for all of the cemeteries, to move them, not just that cemetery. So, that's just a reallocation of that article. And you see the pictures of some of the things that have to be done and what he needs to do. There's no issue, I don't see any issues there. This is a very straightforward, just a reallocation. Kind of just a language, just to change the language on it and where he can specifically use the funds for.
What happened behind it is the cemetery got a $20,000 donation that John Souza facilitated by the FIST Foundation that could only be used for historic cemeteries at that cemetery.
Oh.
So the work got done, he just.
With other
he
funds.
supplanted
Oh, I see.
this
Yeah.
CPC money.
Yep.
So now David says. well,
So these funds are available for the other ones that didn't get the specific grant.
Exactly.
Yeah, or donation, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to give the impression that David didn't do his job.
No.
No,
And he's received a second year.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, the Fisk Foundation has been very
That's great.
generous.
Nice.
We just got a second one, and
That's
it's been
terrific.
split between, John, it's been split between the library and the cemetery, yes.
Terrific.
20,000 per year to the the library and the cemetery, so they've been extremely generous.
That's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wonderful.
Great. And then the only other one was with CPC funds is the Varney Playground allocation.
Yes, and they're going to be taking this from the general reserve account, which we have plenty of money to take the $74,000 from that. That's, if it was, had hovered like a little bit under the 50,000, we could have really used that under the open recreation account, because we have that, but because it went over that, but there's plenty, I have no, I have no concerns. We have plenty of money in the general reserve to be able to pull these out. And I think if, I was actually involved in the original Varney Park way back when. And I knew that playground equipment wasn't gonna last very long, because it was all kind of just pre-treated wood, and it was splintering, and it was really bad.
It was great at one point.
It was great at one point.
Yeah.
It was, yes, it was
And
state
then,
of the art
As my
20
daughter-
years ago.
So daughter said that the slides became the point where you'd slide and there was a 4-foot drop from the
Yeah.
slide. So,
Yeah, so this, and you can see this is where the appropriation is, and I think that that's all very reasonable. And it's a great, it's a great little playground there for that neighborhood, and just like the library and all that, so, yeah. So that's, I don't have no, with $74,000, we have plenty of funding within CPC to do that project.
all right. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Darlene.
Alrighty, thank you.
Next on our agenda this evening, we have a review of the fiscal year 27 budget within the Neshoba Valley Technical School District. With us this evening, we have the superintendent, Denise Pigeon. Also in the audience, we have our business manager and members of the school committee.
Thank you so much. I just want to first start by saying thank you for inviting Neshoba Tech into the journey of building the FY27 budget. I know we met as at the tri-board meeting a couple times in the fall, and several of you were able to attend our town officials breakfast and meeting again with the Chelmsford liaisons. I really need to share that I greatly appreciate those meetings. We're attending those meetings right when we're in the thick of developing our budget, and I find it incredibly helpful and collaborative. If you go to the next slide. I always like to start our presentation with just grounding everyone that's listening in sort of the who we are and where we came from. So again, Neshoba Valley Tech is your regional vocational technical high school. Chelmsford is one of our 8 member towns. Chelmsford is our largest member town, and you've been with us since the beginning. When we talk about the budget, again, the big picture here is the why of what we do and what our budget is funding. As a Chapter 74 vocational technical school, pretty much our specific mission, in addition to providing a traditional academic education as required, we have our students major in one of our offered technical programs. So this slide just gives you an idea of the programs that we're offering and what's really popular right now. Construction continues to be booming at Neshoba Tech and in terms of the labor market needs. So 47% of our students are enrolled in one of our construction programs or transportation programs, 31% of the students enrolled in health and services, and 22% in arts and technology. When we build our budget timeline, we actually work backwards. Because of our regional agreement and some of our requirements, we start with the date of our very first town meeting. The last many years, Westford has been that first town meeting at the end of March, and then we have to work backwards. So we are required to have our budget approved by the school committee 45 days prior to the first town meeting. So that starts us working backwards. And sometimes that turnaround is really tight, which is why we begin building the budget in October. So from October to December, we're really working through that expense budget. We're getting information from the staff It's coming to the administrative level, and it's going back and forth as we work through. Then it gets to budget subcommittee level, and same thing, there's multiple iterations that go back and forth between budget subcommittee. I do want to point out that we have a couple members of the Chelmsford representatives on our school committee that sit on budget subcommittee, so thank you for the many, many hours that you've spent with us. And then it goes forward to the full committee. Prior to our public hearing on the budget and finalizing, we always host a town officials breakfast. This year it was very well attended, so again, thank you to those of you that were able to join us. Our culinary arts students did host and serve a wonderful breakfast, and I have to share that this week they did it. They placed first, yet again, second year in a row, in the statewide Pro Start competition. It was really wonderful to see them get off the bus the other evening after earning that giant banner, and they will go to nationals again for the second year in a row.
That's great.
So sorry, I got off topic. Well, they are award-winning. So we have our budget ready to roll, and then just like everybody else, we anxiously await the release of the governor's budget. And then typically, we only have a couple of weeks to turn it around because of that 45-day window. So that release of the governor's budget to when we vote, quick turnaround time, but we always manage to make it happen. When we talk about the budget, I always like to also start with enrollment, because the assessment, there's a big component of the assessment that is driven by enrollment. Not the entire assessment, but a good portion of the assessment. So town by town, it's important to understand if enrollment is increasing or decreasing. It's also important to understand if total enrollment is increasing or decreasing. And then it's also important to understand if your percentage of the overall portion of our of enrollment at NT is changing. So for Chelmsford, up 6 students this past year, and your percentage of the overall enrollment in NT is slightly up by just about, I think it's 0.56% of an increase in enrollment. This is FY26. And for those of you that came to the budget breakfast, you know that I actually went on a little bit of a deep dive into the Chapter 70 formula. Thanks for bearing with me through that presentation. I knew heading into FY27 that I was going to have to take some time to talk about the one piece of our assessment that is probably the most confusing to understand, and that is the required local contribution, the RLC. This is the one part of our assessment that we have no control over. We do not make up this number. It does not come from us. We anxiously await the release of the governor's budget, and that's when this number comes out. So this number, when the governor's budget came out, I know I talked to Paul and I talked to a few others. The very first thing, everybody was like, whoa, what's happened with the RLC? Why is it up 7.74%? So we did have to do a bit of a dive to understand that. Some of it is the Chapter 70 formula and the multi-year phasing in of the different pieces of the Student Opportunity Act. And then there were also some other changes that happened. So if you go to the next slide, some of our towns really saw some significant variations that, at first glance don't really seem all that explainable, but they are when you dig in. So I'm just going to use Chelmsford as an example. Down 6 students, but their required local contribution went up 120,000. So those are the types of things that stuck out. And when you dig into those changes, there are several factors of that Chapter 70 formula that are at play. And if you go to the next slide, we'll kind of dig into that again. So I'm not going to go through the whole formula like I did at the breakfast, but just the high level. When the state is running this formula, this Chapter 70 formula, the first thing they do is they determine a foundation budget, or what they believe is the minimum a budget that is needed for an adequate education. And there's a long formula. There's all sorts of spreadsheets that go along with it. They determine that foundation budget. And then they run another calculation for the RLC, or a community's ability to pay. Very complicated formula. Looks at things like the property wealth, income, all sorts of factors, and then they backfill with Chapter 70, or that's how the formula is supposed to work. So what's happened with the RLC is in some of our towns, the calculation has changed for that wealth factor and that ability to pay. So if you go to the next slide, So municipal revenue growth factor, this is one of those components of that formula. And in some of our towns, they had a very significant increase in their municipal revenue growth factor of more than 1%. That happened to both Air and Pepperell this year, so that's why their RLC went up so much. The other piece, which is not true of Chelmsford, there were significant enrollment drops in 7 of our 8 towns, not at Neshoba Tech, but overall K-12 population. So I know Chelmsford's population is increasing, which is not what's happening in the other regions across Neshoba Tech's region.
Where they came from.
So, just so,
Sure.
on the municipal growth factor,
Yeah.
is that increase in property values? Is that
It's
what's
part of
driving
it.
it? So like
Part of
towns
it.
like Pepperell saw an increase of maybe new houses, larger houses. So they, even though they dropped 6 students, their assessment went up.
Yes, their municipal revenue growth factor increased by more than 1%, so that shift in what the state believes is their ability to pay went up more than one might have expected. And Paul can probably explain this better than I
New
can.
growth of property tax base, it's local receipts, and all those calculate into municipal revenue growth factor.
You can go to the next slide. So I just wanted to set the stage with that, because that is the biggest portion of our assessment. The rest of our assessment, there's other small pieces of it, but swinging from the assessment, we also will present our total budget, our overall budget, our spending. The assessment is only about, it's 69% of the total total revenue for our budget. So understanding our full budget is important. I know I tease at times that our budget driver slide, I can just copy and paste it into any municipal or regional school district's budget presentation, because all of us are seeing the same thing. We've talked about this over the past several months. A very significant driver for us is always those, salary increases, staffing increases. Good news is our teacher's contract is settled for this year and next year. We'll be going into negotiations for FY28, and then followed a year later by our other units, our custodians, cafeteria, paraprofessionals, et cetera. Healthcare. If we go back to where we were in the fall, and the first time I heard that we were looking at potentially 20% increases, I still find it interesting that we're celebrating 10 to 15% increases, but we have come along. So that's a significant increase, but better than where we thought we were going to be. Transportation for Neshoba Tech. This is interesting because our transportation contract is going up. It's a 5% increase. We're in a 1-year extension of our contract. But when you get to the assessment, you're going to see that our transportation costs overall are slightly going down. That's because we were able to have some savings in some of our special transport students that have graduated out. So even though we're having a 5% increase, you're getting to see that it looks like some savings. Vendor contracts, again, everything goes up. For us in particular, the HVAC contract is an issue. We have a very much aging system that we're hoping to replace soon, and I'll talk about that in a future slide. And other costs, so we can move forward.
Are there any, in our transportation contract, both for Neshoba and for Chelmsford, is there anything in there where they can raise, because of the fuel costs going way up, can they raise
I think they can.
charges on us?
Yeah.
There is.
There are fuel charges based on transportation contracts, paving contracts, and so forth, yeah. So it goes with the market, it also can come down, too.
I understand that, but
Yes.
you know where I am right now.
Usually, yeah.
Theoretically, it
I
can
would
also
say,
come down.
like,
Yes.
usually it goes up. I've never seen actively,
Very rare it goes actively down.
unless you bring it to their attention to bring it down, right? Like they, no problem.
The state requires, you have to put a cost estimate in your bid,
Yeah.
what your fuel price is per gallon, and then it's adjusted based on what it is.
Okay, thank you.
And there aren't that many bidders out there
No,
when it comes to
no.
transportation contracts.
Yes,
out there.
historically, we've received one bid.
Yeah.
Yes. So we, again, began that process in October, had multiple iterations of the budget through December into early January. We made a lot of adjustments. We knew that across the board, everybody was in the same place as we were. Costs are going up. And we know that it's tough times. So we really worked hard to reduce the budget. The first rounds that were coming in were much higher than I knew we could bring forward. So we did a lot of things to try to make adjustments. So we did do some significant deferrals of capital. Some of this is deferred a couple of years in a row. For example, we are still holding on replacement of 3 of our minibuses. We do have the benefit that we have, a transportation program that can help us keep these up and running and make the maintenance changes that we need. So we rely on our tech programs to help reduce those costs as well. We also made the decision to hold off on an OPEB payment. So there is no, typically we put in anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 OPEB in the budget, and we did remove it from the FY27 budget that you see here today. We do hope that if we have some savings in the health care costs, that we would be able to make an additional payment. So hopefully it won't actually affect our progress moving forward. But the other piece is we're doing really well with our OPEB trust. Thank you, Paul, for participating on that. We've been making regular payments, so we're in good shape moving forward with that. We looked at everything, technology, software, wherever we could reduce or have efficiencies, and we made those. We also, again, I know you've heard our stories. We love to apply for grants. We were able to secure a $399,000 grant and able to pull the dust collection system replacement for carpentry out of the budget. So it will still get done, but it's going to get done through a grant. And, we continue to do those types of activities to be able to still get what we need, but also reduce costs. So the budget that's being presented today is significantly less than where we started. This slide, digging a little deeper into what's going on with capital, because you will see we do have a significant increase in ask for capital, but that ask is balanced with the reduction in debt. We're continuing to move forward. I think I'm 4 years in a row now telling you we're working through one wing at a time, replacing our fire suppression system. We are planning this summer to do a very large section of the building, and that's what the $750,000 and hopefully maybe even another section in the back of the building can get done. I'm very much looking forward to being able to not have to keep telling you that we're still working through this, but we're getting there. We also know that one of our biggest capital needs coming up is HVAC. I think you've heard me talk about it for a few years. We were thrilled that the MSBA Accelerated Repair Project reopened. We put in our application and we were accepted in, so very excited. We've just kicked off that beginning phase of the feasibility study to replace our HVAC system with heat pump conversion. The school committee did take a vote to utilize our stabilization funds to pay for the feasibility study. We do anticipate we'll get a 55% reimbursement rate on that. But there's no expenses for feasibility in this budget. We will be coming forward in either the fall, I was hoping for the fall, but I'm not so sure we're going to get there that fast, maybe in the spring, to go forward with the full project, to bond for the full project. And the timing of this is critical because we just paid off the largest piece of debt that Neshoba Tech had, which was the big building project between 2003 to 2005, been paid off. So we've increased our capital ask, balanced with the decrease in debt, and sort of the planning moving forward is as this debt phases on, we'd also be able to drop back our capital ask so that we can try to keep that assessment as level as possible. That's the same methodology we used with the last roof project, and that's what we're trying to do. So again, steps of the MSBA, we're in feasibility right now. I'll hope to have a warrant article and be before you next year talking about the big project. We can go to the next slide. So the bird's eye view of the budget, we have a $20.3 million budget. It is a 4.81% increase over last year. Again, we've come down pretty significantly from where we started. There's not a lot of new here. It's the things that I talked about in our budget drivers. But you can see, and it does kind of stand out, if you see the capital and debt, that's a piece of our strategy. So we've increased capital asked by $325,000, debt's decreased by just about the same. So this slide, again, $20.3 million budget. That budget is funded through basically two categories of funding that comes direct from the towns through town assessments, and funding that comes through non-town assessment revenue, like Chapter 70, and we are also using a portion of our E&D to offset costs in this budget. So Town assessments, 69% of our overall revenue plan. If you go to the next slide. Now, this looks more closely at the total assessment. This is all 8 towns, not just Chelmsford. So you can see this is the year-over-year assessment and the change. 764 students to 770, so up 6 students. You can see the RLC, again, that state formula is the most significant portion of the change of the assessment. Given that significant change, the school committee did level fund that additional assessment column, so no change. You can see a slight savings in transportation. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the why of that. Capital's up 325, debt's down by about the same for the total assessment change. Then looking at what happens specific to the town of Chelmsford, that is the next slide. So up 6 students, slightly up in your percentage of overall enrollment. 253,298 of that change is all connected to that RLC calculation. Up a little over 2,000 in additional assessment. Same with transportation. And then you can see the change in capital and debt based on the way that we put that in the budget for a total change of 263,302. And then I always like to end with the other things that we do. In addition to running high school, we also have quite a bit of adult programming at night. This program is not part of the budget, but it is something that's available to residents. We're running another round of cohorts, is kicking off this week actually, where we have adults who are unemployed or underemployed doing job retraining in various fields. This is completely state funded and at no cost to the participants, and it can really be a true vector changer for people. 200-hour retraining programs, and we'll be running another round of cohorts in the summer as well. So if you know anyone out there that's looking to retrain, have them get in touch with us, and we can help them get in touch with Mass Hire to get connected with these programs. And you have the presentation, and you also have the more specific budget handouts. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? One more thing. When we talked about the technical programs, we do have our eyes on potentially adding 2 new technical programs, and that is HVAC maintenance and a facilities or a property maintenance program. And we did put our grant application in for a pretty significant grant. We're hoping for some good news in a couple of weeks. If we get that grant, it would likely be over $3 million to be able to move forward with adding those 2 new programs. So we're hoping for some announcements soon.
Excellent.
That's great news. And would you be offsetting any other programs or just net additions?
We're always looking at which programs are potentially in need of phasing out. We have phased programs out as we phase programs in. So we do that annually, but more than anything, if you were to see how many students are enrolled in construction, I think you'll see that they'll spread out. Our electrical and plumbing are our 2 largest programs right now. And I know that there are students who would be looking to switch into those other fields. And we also know that there's other students that will be coming up through the grades that would want those programs.
I know that Chelmsford's your largest sending town, but by population, who's the largest, percentage of population?
In terms of like the total town population?
Like say, who's,
Our second largest, I always say, is Pepperell and Townsend combined. So it's the North Middlesex region is our second largest town.
right.
Saying it's relative to their population, who's the
Oh.
most proportion of students to Neshoba? It's probably Pepperell more than Chelmsford because of the
Oh, I gotcha.
size of the population.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
the translation.
I think it's Pepperell and Townsend that are smaller sized communities, but.
Send a significant portion of students. Yeah.
Got it.
Just another question on OPEB. So what's the mechanism to remember to add that back in the future?
Well, I won't forget, and I have a member on the Board of Trustees, his name is Paul Cohen. No, we won't forget, and our school committee is really good about this. Like, this was not something they wanted to do, but I think we're pretty hopeful that, again, we're careful when we budget for health insurance costs, but we typically do realize some savings at the end of the year. So I think we could still potentially make it work. And we might also be able to make an additional payment at the end of this year to also offset that. So we will not forget.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And then the last question I have is just on, you were mentioning the stabilization fund was used for the MSBA feasibility study.
Yes.
Just curious, how much is in the stabilization
That's a
fund?
great question. I wrote it down. I knew somebody might ask. So our stabilization account has about 1.8 million. We try to keep about 8 to 10% of our total budget. It was a long process to get to that point. We haven't funded it for many, many years, but over the course of time, there was 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 payments that went in there. So this feasibility study, we're still in the process of negotiating the fees, but it could be anywhere from 600,000 to 900,000 for this study through the schematic design phase. We would anticipate a 55% reimbursement of eligible costs that would go back into that account. So then futuristically, we may want to start increasing it again, but we were happy that we were able to do it this way so that we didn't have to put it into the assessment. That's really the why that we had this account in the first place.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I also have to say, from a person who works on presentation material all the times, good size type, interesting graphics.
Well,
Two
in
thumbs
full
up.
disclosure, I have to give a little credit to Gemini for helping me with the images.
The other thing I want to mention is your conflicts on April 27th.
Oh, yes, I am so sorry, but we have this running issue where we have two towns that have a town meeting on the same night. And this year, I will be attending the Air Town meeting, and I will be sending some staff members to Chelmsford Town meeting. However, sometimes I can still make it, and you'll see me come in at the end. Or if I can make it here for the presentation, I will do the presentation. If I can't, we will have other staff members that are ready to roll, and then I'll continue to rotate where I am. So I apologize for that, but I am double.
You've got a bigger challenge this year than Chelmsford. probably.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. Yeah, they
You
do.
made the right choice. We're gonna-
Yeah.
Certainly.
And I appreciate your understanding on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on our agenda this evening is a discussion of the budget hearing and Springtown meeting warrant article schedule, just as an update. So this evening, we've had the Board of Health, the Community Preservation Fund, and those articles, the library, and the Neutral Valley School District. So that ends the budget reviews. As far as the warrant article reviews, we have no meeting next week, as a reminder, on the 19th, but we have our final meeting, or should be our final meeting on the 26th of the month. And at that evening, we'll have the general bylaw and zoning bylaws. Both Kelly Beatties and also Crystal Valley from the Planning Board will be here to present those zoning articles. Again, I've reached out to Brian Latina to see if he wants to present on his zoning bylaw amendment. I haven't heard anything still, but the invitation remains open for the 26th, so should he so choose to come. That evening, then we'll proceed to our review and voting on the articles, and we'll go, as we always do, straight through from 1 through, 36 this year. And we'll present, review, discuss, and vote after the presentation of the zoning bylaws. Speaking with Chris, he said he didn't expect to be more than an hour on his zoning bylaws, and also including actually Kelly Beatty's zoning bylaws. So that shouldn't be a terribly long meeting, although it'll be certainly longer than this evening. But that will get us done with our review in March. Which will allow us a little bit of extra leeway to get the planning book, the book and report together, the letter together, and then off to the printer. The town meeting, as the town manager mentioned earlier, is 27th this year, the last Monday in April, which means that the town manager's review of the warrant articles will be at 6:30 on the 22nd at the senior center. 20, so the review on the Wednesday prior is the 22nd. Yeah, oh, 7? At 7 p.m., excuse me. So I welcome anyone here, but also all the town meeting representatives at home that would like to come and learn a little bit more about what's been voted on, what the warrant articles are, what the budget looks like, to go that evening and to have their questions answered through a review of all the articles so that they're ready and raring to go on the 27th at the Springtown meeting. 36 articles, but there's a large consent agenda, I think. So,
I've heard there's gonna be two,
2 consent agendas.
because the voting, like,
Oh, well, okay, I understand, I understand what you're saying. With that, I imagine, I don't think we'll go more than 2 nights. I would hope that we don't go more than 2 nights. But for us, we'll be done probably, I think voting and review will take an hour and a half. So we'll be out of here probably 9 o'clock next, not next week, but the week after. All right. Is there any public comment? Seeing none and none in the Zoom room, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
See you in 2 weeks.